All right. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Thanks for Sharing. My name is Kristen, and I'm here with the wonderful Jules Wonodi. She is a yoga instructor and health and fitness influencer. I brought her on today to talk about some of the strategies that she used on her journey to wellness. Thank you for coming. I'm so glad that you're here.
So much for having me. I'm so excited to be doing this podcast.
Wonderful. Yes. We are both a part of the DC
Run crew.
That's how we DC Run crew and the DC fitness scene. And Jules led an amazing yoga instruction, a yoga class for our run crew that kind of changed my perspective and changed my life. I had a real breakthrough in that moment. I think I told you when you did Happy Baby, and it was like crazy because there was so much in my hips. And I was like, man, ended up crying at the end of the whole thing. It was a thing she didn't know about it because I was on my mat, and everybody else just got so edified by what you brought. So, Jules, the first question I'd like to ask everyone is, who are you and what do you do?
I am a yogi first and foremost, and a yoga instructor as well. But outside of yoga, I love fitness just because, like you said, it has a way of really transforming your life. So I found myself on my own fitness journey about 5 years ago during college, and it was really not just fitness, but coming to love who I am, coming to be grateful of the body I was in, and then finding fitness as a celebration of that. So sometimes people see working out and exercise as a punishment or something you need to do for overindulgence. I'm really here to help everyone reframe that and see fitness as, something that's a celebration of just the abilities of your body, and have it be fun, have it be joyful, and really just move with joy. Rather than having it be some kind of arduous task that you have to do.
Yeah, it definitely feels like an arduous task when I do it. I'm like, oh God, because it feels very much like I don't think my body can do this. Mm-hmm. But then mentally, you surprise yourself because mentally you say, I can't do this, but physically you can keep going.
Exactly. Or I think some of us have that idea in our head, or like running track of, I have to work out today. I have to do this. I have to burn this many calories, rather than like, I get to move my body in a way that's fun. I get to, go to a workout and see all my favorite people, and so that's where it comes. That's where like we can do the work of reframing what that fitness routine looks like for yourself, for, everyone individually.
Your journey of becoming a yoga instructor.
Okay.
So tell us about how that began.
So it first started through running, and that's kind of how what started me becoming more active. And so in running, and it was very meditative. I would go on long runs, and I would always just concentrate on my breath, keeping my breath calm, and just understanding that there's so much power in your breath. And that's the thing that, sustains you through a workout. And so for me, that was really powerful. And then from running, I started going to the gym more often, and then just honestly just experimenting with different forms of play. And so how I got into yoga was through handstands. So for me, I would do handstands in my college dorm, and it was just something that was really fun to practice the skill.
Wait. Like,
does it sound red?
I don't like one day you was like, okay, I want to stand on my head.
So I've always been, I was the youngest, so I've always just been very much into all kinds of types of play. And I feel as if that's also something I always encourage people to do, is find more ways to just play. So, and in a physical way, because that allows you to, one, just let loose and do, again, for me, it's all about things that I enjoy. And so I don't really know exactly what it was. It was definitely during the pandemic, during COVID, when we all had way too much time on our hands. But I would practice doing handstands, and I would search it up, and then my Instagram ads would show me, aloe moves of how to master the handstands. And so that's how I got into yoga through that. And the reason why it was so exciting is because I wasn't focused necessarily on my physical appearance, but it was more of that physical ability and that skill that I was learning. And so I really do think that that's a great way to kind of stick to something when you're trying to work on a new skill or trying to learn how to do something, rather than if your only motivation is how you work.
Yeah, and then running took you a long way, girl, because you are so fast. I don't even get to see your back because you're so far ahead of me all the time. You are really fast.
And I will say, and I think I was telling you this before, I'm not naturally, like, when I would run, I don't run for speed. In fact, I mostly ran for distance.
You lying.
But,
it's like her, another woman who's super fast, and like all the
I will say it's also the community, right? So it's like having people there that motivate you, that make you, you know.
But why you got to compete with somebody that's like 200, like 6 feet, 220?
You know what it was? Okay, so another thing too, right? When I was in college and I was getting really deep into just like fitness became like my whole life, was I would go on these runs along the Schuylkill River in Philly. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, I was also trying to apply for jobs in consulting. And consulting is a very like cutthroat industry just in terms of getting in. And so my idea was always that like, you know, I need to be the best, right? And so when I would run, if I saw like a white man running, I would say, I need to pass him. I need to pass him. And so then I would turn on that mentality of like, if you need to pass him, you need to run faster than him and you need to go. And so I would just practice sprinting, you know, and like catching up to him and passing him. And it was just this thing where I was like, I was really locked in that period. I would visualize it. I would also do, I don't know if you've ever done this, but like, if you ever like imagine needing to like run for your life and just needing to sprint and go as hard as you can. No, it sounds crazy, but it's those things that like unlock this idea of like, I can do anything, right? Because I feel as if so many times we have these limiting beliefs of what we can do. And it's that ability to surprise yourself, to show yourself that like, this is actually what my maximum capacity is. It sounds crazy, but like for me, that's just something that like really motivates me. And it excites me just to see like, what is the actual like edge to my capacity? And can I even surpass that?
Wow, that is so cool. So I hear some themes here. So the first thing is that it's always you versus you.
Yeah.
And the second one is that you enjoy the physicality of playing in life.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so it seems like you have, like I said before, you kind of marry these two things, your mind, your mental ability and your physical ability. And you were saying before that you started running, but then what got you into yoga? Handstands?
It was through handstands. And then I created my Instagram page and at first it was called Jules the Yogi. And so I would just document different like poses I was working on and it was a lot of like arm balances because I just thought they were cool, to be honest. And it really felt as if like I was getting stronger. I was more agile, and it kind of feels like you're getting superpowers just because you're just more aware of your body and like where it is in the space around you. Mm-hmm. And then I would also just get the positive feedback from my community and the small audience I was building.
Oh, really?
Yes. People have said like, oh, I love like when you post about it, you know, they love to watch the handstand journey. And so even back in June, it's really exciting.
I know, I don't know how many years we were apart. We're not going to do it, but a handstand sounds very scary to me right now. Yeah. I'm to the point in my life where handstand,
and so it's starting off the wall,
sounds very dangerous at this point in life. Like, I'm sorry. I mean, I got insurance, you know what I'm saying? I need to keep it. Like, I don't want to be a risk. But no, that sounds really exciting. So you fast forward, you move to DC, you join the fitness community, and now you got this amazing entrepreneurial journey here where you do Yoga by Jules and you are making it happen. So tell us about Yoga by Jules.
So Yoga by Jules, I mean, it's a very simple name. I was just like, I do yoga. My name is Jules. And so I don't think I fully explained how I started teaching yoga, right? Mm-hmm. So I started yoga by myself in my college dorm room. And then I took my first class. It was a power yoga class, a core power. And so that was like a heated studio, very intense. I almost fainted the first class. But then that feeling that I came out afterwards, like just like my body was just singing. I felt so refreshed. And then I came back. And it was low-key expensive at first because I was a college student.
It's always expensive.
Highly expensive.
Those classes are expensive.
But then I met this one instructor who she really inspired me so much, her whole teaching style. So I started taking her class. And then she was the one who encouraged me to go through yoga teacher training. And so I did my teacher training through Core Power. And again, like core power style is very much like power vinyasa. So it's about strength. It's about endurance. And I think now that we're talking about this, those are the things I'm definitely attracted to. I love a physical challenge just because it's so rewarding when you actually make it through or when you surprise yourself, you know? And then there was that bit of like being a little competitive where, you know, you're in a room and you're like, I'm gonna, you know, I want to be seen as advanced, you know? And so that's something I'm still working on, just to like let go of that ego.
I mean, no, it sounds like it's something that comes naturally.
Yeah.
But you really want that. But also, like I was saying, as an entrepreneur, you put those stipulations on yourself because you want it's you versus you.
Yeah, and I believe in my own
talking
potential.
Yeah. So it seems to be going well. Like, I mean, tell us more.
Okay, so I had been teaching at Core Power maybe about a little bit over a year and a half when I started teaching at the Eaton DC, and it's an Afro Soul Yoga class. So Core Power has their own specific audience, a kind of demographic, but where I love the Eaton is that it's really catered for Black people, brown people, people of color. And I felt as if I could bring a little bit more of my own like unique taste and style into that class. So I teach an Afro Soul Yoga class, and it's Afro beats music, and it's really a space that's made for Black people, Black and brown. Okay. And a lot of my students have told me, come up to me and say, I really appreciate this, right? Having a teacher who looks like me, having the music that I listen to, right? Not just Taylor Swift or Gracie Abrams, you know? And so that's where I realized that like that class is like serving a group of people that are underserved in the wellness industry currently. And so that's why this class has been so meaningful for me. Outside of that, I also do yoga and brunch for the girls. And I like that. And that's the one I'm so excited about, because as I'm getting like more specific into who I'm serving in that niche, it's sort of like, it's women who look like me, you know, the girl's girl. And so for me, I think that's just been important to have that space where people feel comfortable showing up as their authentic self and then doing something that's good for them. Because I think we both know the DC scene is brunch. It is, you know, the club. It is not always things that are best for us. And like, that's how I feel like that's the default way to congregate. And so I want to be able to create a space that like we can congregate in other ways that can be like outside of like drinking and alcohol and things like that.
Yeah,
like,
I went and it was just like really, really good, because it was also like, I didn't feel the pressure. It was a class, but it wasn't, you don't have like a group or like an organization, kind of like the run club that we go to. So it's like a class that you can go to, but it doesn't feel, you don't have to feel the pressure of like, okay, we're on a team per se. Like you can definitely do your own.
Yeah, you can go and get your yoga.
Yeah, like I like that. And you get to go in,
make the connection.
You get to go out and meet people that look like you, who kind of have the same challenges, have the same focuses. And so with that, I want to segue into kind of like, you know, we talked about your African heritage and kind of talked about, so again, there's like a duality of like, you know, your American side, you know, your, I guess, first generation side, and then like your Nigerian like roots. And mentally, we discussed a little bit more about like, I guess, again, that like expectation in African culture for you to like excel a lot.
Yes.
But kind of, I think yoga, the practice of yoga teaches you to accept a lot more. So how do you deal with that?
Yes. So I love this question just because it's so relevant, right? And I do think that, so I'm Nigerian, and there is this common perception of Nigerians, especially Nigerians who are here in the US. I will say that we talked about that, right? People who come from Nigeria to the US, their mentality is one of excellence. It's one of success is the only option. Failure is not an option, right? And so I think that's where the challenging myself comes from, right? And I've always been good at that, and sometimes almost to a fault. And so what I really learned with yoga, and especially during my teacher training, was having grace for myself. And that's been the biggest thing that, you know, I feel as if I have developed through yoga, is being able to, yes, I want to push myself, but understanding that sometimes the journey can just be in the imperfections of it, right? So we always talk about like in a pose, it's not about having like, obviously you want to have great alignment, but it's not about doing like the most complicated advanced version of it, but it's the journey of finding your way through that pose, trying to do it with ease, trying to breathe through it, and listening to your body. And so that's been something I'm so grateful for yoga, because I don't think I necessarily would have gotten it through my upbringing from my family.
Right.
No shade, but
No, everything great.
yes. So I'm glad I now like am able to find that balance most times.
Yeah, because I really appreciate the fact that you said that, because there's so many different challenges that people face, and grace is a huge part of how we can progress, because it's about progress and not perfection.
Yeah.
So if you get to a place where you're constantly progressing, then you'll be where you want to be. But then by the time you get where you want to be, you're completely transformed person, right?
Yeah.
And what you wanted at first is usually never what you thought that you want. At the end, you're looking back, you're like, I'm completely a different person. You evolve. So I love that about that. So as we close, is there anything else? As we close, is there anything else you'd like to share with our viewers, with our listeners? Is there anything else that you feel like is a tidbit of information that you feel like will be important for them?
Well, I definitely want to say that ever since I started my fitness journey, it was a bit of a weight loss journey as well. I think what has surprised like my family, especially, is the fact that like I've kept the weight off. I've kept the activity just as much as when I was in college. And so for anyone who's like struggling with either falling on and off a routine, my biggest thing is that you have to start by finding movements that you enjoy, that feel fun, and not necessarily things that are easy, but something that feels like a fun challenge. Because if you're dreading your workouts, you're not going to want to do them, right? And so it doesn't have to be a 6 a.m. I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. and I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to run on the treadmill. If that sounds like your personal health, then don't do it. Don't commit to that. Maybe it's jump roping. Maybe it's taking a dance class. So I think finding different modalities of fitness that you enjoy is like key to being able to sustain it. And then another thing too is also finding communities that bring you together through fitness is so transformative. Like we met through DC Run Crew. I feel as if so many people I know now are through different running groups or through like my different yoga circles. And it really does help you have people to keep you accountable. And then it also just makes it more exciting when you have people who have the same interest as you as well. So
absolutely,
those would be my 2 tips for anyone who wants to.
Well, okay. Where can we find you? Where can we find your work?
Yes. So I teach my Afro Soul yoga class at the Eaton DC Sundays at 4 p.m. And then if you want to connect with me on Instagram, my Instagram is live.jules. That's libe.jules.
All right. Well, thank you. And thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much.
I had fun. This is fun.
This is so good.